Welcome back for the concluding part of my story. He came back to Nigeria. It was the Christmas period. He didn't tell us he was coming back, unlike other times. We were so surprised and excited to see him. I had planned a trip to South Africa with the kids and his cousin. My house helped travel to her village to see her parents. He jumped in and got his visa immediately to go with us. It was a one-week Christmas trip. We went out every day in Joburg. I would look at my husband with so much love and admiration. I sent my sister a voice note narrating my happiness and enjoyment on the trip with my husband and kids. I gave her a lot of details in excitement. She told me it was too good to be true, that she felt something was off. I pushed it down to jealousy and let her be. On the 5th day of the trip, we had a sightseeing planned, but I was exhausted from the day before. I begged my husband to go along with the kids, while I put my legs up, drink some juice, Netflix, and chill in our hotel suite. I decided to tap on my laptop to check my email, but it wasn't responding. The laptop was having minor issues, but I didn't have much time to get a new one and set it up before we left Lagos. I decided to travel with it like that. It was just for a week. After I tried to reboot the laptop but wasn't coming up. I cited my husband's pristine, extremely expensive laptop, sitting pretty on the table. I turned it on to use it. Enter password was boldly written on the screen. I picked up my phone to reach him and ask for his password, but I couldn't get him. I guessed he was out of network coverage or something. I started trying out all the passwords that I had seen over his shoulders in the past. I tried up to 5 times before I got it right. Before then, I never had any reason to use his laptop, not even while we were still living together. Before he relocated to the UK, I always used mine. His mail was open, plus a few other tabs. I was going to go straight to opening a fresh tab and sign into my email, but something stopped me. Out of curiosity, without any single bad intentions, I decided to snoop. I started reading his emails. What I saw almost gave me a heart attack. Angie, I couldn't believe my eyes. My body was shaking and sweat was starting to break out. My palms got sweaty, and the room became so hot as anxiety set in. I couldn't stop myself, I'm telling you the truth. I kept going on and on and on and on. It felt like I was dreaming. I checked the username on the mail again, to make sure it belonged to my husband or it was for someone else. What I saw was unbelievable. I never imagined that my husband could do such to me. I know you've been so impatient to know what I found in my husband's laptop. Okay, let me not stretch it any further and simply cut to the chase. Remember that cousin of his I always mention that is living with me? Yes, the same 14-year-old girl who started living with me 2 years after I got married, is my husband's child. He claimed she was his mother's younger sister's child, who died many years ago while giving birth to her. The girl was living with his parents before we got married. She's such a sweet girl, I didn't dispute. The moment his mother insisted the girl must live with me, no part of me suspected anything. I wanted his parents to fully accept me, so I took the girl like my younger sister. Plus, my husband begged me not to treat her like a house girl, that she's family. She goes to the best school and gets the best things my kids get, as well. I saw emails he shared with a certain someone that I've never heard of. After going through all his sent messages to the person and his primary inbox, I discovered that the lady is the mother of his cousin. Some of them were sultry messages of how he deflowered her back then, and the things they did after that, while the rest centered on how well the cousin was growing and doing in school. The lady is married with kids, I figured from his pleasantries to her. Some of the messages had pictures of her naked and doing stuff. He even asked her when she would visit the UK again, that he has greatly missed her. She has been visiting him, while I am here, keeping the home front, acting like the good, faithful, and trustworthy wife. What a wow! I wondered why he didn't marry her. What happened that made him call his child a cousin, and why did the lady in question get married to someone else and is still in a relationship with my husband? Why they were exchanging emails instead of phone conversations or normal chats? My husband is 36, which means he had her when he was 22. My head was bursting with too many questions, anxiety was dealing with me, my throat was so dry, and my hands still shaking. I brought out my phone and snapped a few of the messages, then turned off the laptop and started crying, waiting for him to get back. I was going to blast him as soon as he walked through the door. I was eagerly waiting. As I was crying, I remembered there were still messages that I didn't check. I turned the laptop back on and continued to other messages. The next thing I saw almost gave me a heart attack. I started choking like I was going to pass out. I tried to get up from the bed, but I couldn't. My knees were so weak and my head was spinning. I saw that he was the one who got UK visas for my sister and her daughter, and booked their flights. He's the father of her baby. They started having an affair shortly after we met. I saw emails that dated back to before my wedding. I picked up my phone to snap the messages, but I couldn't focus. Oh God, who would have thought that my sister who hated my husband, telling me she doesn't like Igbo people at all, has been having an affair with him for so many years, under my nose, and I had no clue. I remember the day she told me that the father of her child deceived her, that she didn't know he was a married man with kids. She's been living so fine, always sharing good news with me, how the man bought her a car to be doing school runs and also bought a plot of land for her daughter. I never knew that all her comfortable and sometimes extravagant lifestyle was courtesy of my husband. I lay on the bed and started blaming myself, how gullible and foolish I had been all these years. I loved this man, oh, I loved him with every fiber of my being, I loved him with my soul. He was my king, I believed and trusted him, hook, line, and sinker. My sister and her child are in the UK, closer to my husband, while my kids and I are living in Nigeria, and see my husband whenever he wants us to see him. I have been married to a stranger all these years. Another wow. I started thinking of who to call and talk to about my discoveries. I was going nuts. I needed to talk to someone, desperately. I was about to dial my mother's number, but I changed my mind. She would start screaming and escalate the whole issue before I had the time to handle it. As I was still going through my contacts, contemplating speaking to my best friend, something snapped in my head. What is this self? I would ask myself. I am a full-bred Yoruba babe, we are solid, no Igbo man can mess me up this way, never. Bunmi, get up, clean your eyes, and pamper your face with makeup. This man should be the one suffering, not you. I thought to myself. I went into the bathroom, washed my face and put on some light makeup, then watched a movie on Netflix. It was so difficult for me to concentrate. I was looking at the screen but wasn't fully seeing the movie. My mind was running fast in thoughts. A few hours later, my husband got back with the kids and his cousin. I greeted them with the warmest of smiles and gave him a tight hug and a peck. He felt so right. I watched my kids as they narrated the fun they had with their father. Just like the Netflix, I wasn't seeing them, my mind was far gone. They had to tap me at intervals to bring my mind back into the room. My husband noticed this and asked me if I was fine. I smiled broadly with an affirmative. I had decided not to confront him or my sister. Since they did everything behind me, I had to also figure out how to move on, without letting him know. The rest of the trip was uneventful. I acted so cool and calm, that it took the strongest will to remain calm, irrespective of the turmoil that was going on in my heart. My heart was running a marathon, especially whenever I saw him or spoke to him. We were doing nothing like nothing happened. Before he went back, I gave him like never before. It was farewell, but he had no idea. When he went back, I went on a selling spree. I contacted everyone I knew, who knew people in the real estate sector, and car dealers. His Range Rover was the first I sold, then sold my sister's car that she parked in my compound, before traveling. It was a Mercedes-Benz she entrusted in my care, with the papers. I sold all the landed properties he bought for my kids and me, including his own. The documents were with me. While all these were going on, I applied for a Yankee visa and got it on the first attempt, multiple entries, with an invitation from my best friend, who lives there with her husband, and quit my job. I still didn't tell any single person what was going on. I didn't want any advice, whether good or bad. It was my cross, and I was carrying it with pride. So many times, I broke down in the car, in my room, in the shower, one time, at the supermarket. It wasn't easy. He was my first love, my first everything. The heartbreak was so intense. In all this, we were still communicating normally. He didn't suspect anything, and neither did my sister. For months after he left, I had sold everything that needed to be sold, remaining the house. It took a while for me to sell it. I put it on distress sale, with the properties in it. The day the sale was completed, I packed his cousin and a few of her belongings and bundled her to his family house in Oja during the weekend of my travel. I told his mother that I was taking the kids to spend the weekend with my parents and that I would be back to pick her up on Sunday. Then, I settled my housekeeper and sent her back to her people. I had wanted to take her along, but she wasn't granted a visa. I moved my kids and our luggage to a hotel. We spent only 2 days in the hotel before we left for Atlanta, USA. I left my car with my younger brother, packed my husband's belongings and the rest of his cousin's belongings, and told him to take it to his parents in Oja, the day after we left. Before taking off, I sent my husband a long voice note on WhatsApp, narrated everything I found out, told him all that I sold, and settled myself. That I will remain his wife on paper, in Nigeria, but when I get to America, I will keep an open mind and find love again, as I will be living like a single mother with kids. That he is free to file for divorce and find a way to send me the papers to sign if he wants. Also, after 3 years, we will discuss plans for how he will be visiting, to see his kids, if he wants. The last thing I would do is keep my kids away from their father, never. Since the day we landed, till today, he has been begging me. If I hear say I share a man with my sister again. God forbid. As for my sister, I completely cut her off from everywhere.